Most of you probably know about the moment that my YouTube channel turned into a Bitcoin livestream and then simply vanished. You saw the recovery if you've watched the video, but you didn't see what happened next. The channel was restored and the videos were back, the hijackers were gone, and on paper everything was fine. But that's not what it felt like. In reality, getting my channel back wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a completely different problem. Now, for those who haven't seen my previous video, my YouTube channel was hijacked, and you can see a wee link to it up there. Somebody gained control of it, and for a period of time, I had no idea whether I would actually ever see it again. Thankfully, after a lot of work and a lot of help from the YouTube creator support team, I managed to recover it. I was relieved, but I wasn't relaxed, because once you've experienced something like that, you start looking at your online security very, very differently. Like, I thought my security was good enough. I had passwords, I had two-factor authentication. I wasn't careless. I had backup recovery emails and recovery phone numbers. I had passkeys installed in my system. Like many people, I assumed that was enough. And to be fair, for years it was. And then one day it wasn't. After recovering the channel, I expected my life, my YouTube life, to return to normal. But it didn't, and neither did my actual real life, because I found myself thinking about security far more than I ever had before. Every time I logged into YouTube, every time I checked an email, every time I received an unexpected email, every time I uploaded a new video, the thought would pop back into my head, what if this happens again? That question became surprisingly difficult to ignore. As creators, we spend a huge amount of our time thinking about the next project, the next video, the next thumbnail, the next idea, the next filming trip. Creativity requires focus. But I found that security concerns kept pushing their way to the front of my mind. I wasn't constantly panicking. I wasn't losing sleep. Well, I wasn't losing much sleep. But the concern was always there in the background. Just like a wee voice saying, have you done enough? Are you sure you've done enough? Eventually I realised something important. Recovering the channel and feeling secure again were two completely different things. YouTube creator support had helped me to recover the channel, but restoring my peace of mind, that's going to be my responsibility. Before the hijacking, I thought my security was good enough. Like I've said, I had 2FA and I wasn't careless. But there's a specific way hackers get around all of that, and it's some most creators don't understand until it's too late. It's called session hijacking. Now, I know that sounds like a dry technical term from a cyber security manual, and you might be expecting me to talk about token authentication, browser cache exploits and malicious scripts, but actually it's much simpler than that. Think of it like a digital passport, because even though I had two-factor authentication turned on and I thought I was safe, the hijackers didn't need my password or phone code. They stole my session. So what is the session? Think of it like this. When you log into YouTube or Gmail, you show Google your ID, your password and your two-factor authentication. Google checks them and then hands you a digital passport. In the tech world, it's called a cookie. Now, as long as you have that password, that cookie, in your browser, Google doesn't keep asking you for ID every time you click a link. It just sees the passport and it lets you through. So here's how the hackers got me. They didn't try to guess my password, they couldn't have. They didn't try to hack my phone for a code. Instead, they sent me a file that looked like a sponsorship contract. When I opened it, A tiny piece of software ran for a split second. It didn't steal my password. It reached into my browser and stole a copy of that digital password, that cookie, and sent it back to the hijackers. Immediately, the hijackers put that passport into their own browser. Suddenly, Google's systems thought that they were me. They were already inside the house, so they didn't need a key or a code to change the recovery email and lock me out. And while they were changing the password, two-factor authentication, recovery email addresses and recovery phone numbers, and removing passkeys because they had the cookie, they stole the session, they were in there, they were effectively me. While they were doing all that, I was looking at the next page in the hijackers' fake page, complying with the instructions that I thought were going to get me another collaboration with an interesting company. Before I had even finished reading the page, the hijackers had full control of my Gmail account and would move on in a few seconds to taking over my YouTube channel. That's when I realised that my digital locks were useless without a physical key. I thought about it, and that's when I came to the conclusion that I needed to take additional steps. And that search led me to something that I'd heard about before, but I'd never seriously considered because I thought my security was enough. So I looked into security keys, specifically YubiKeys, YubiKeys. Now, this isn't a sponsored video, right? Nobody sent these keys to me. Nobody asked me to make this video. In fact, before the hijacking, I probably wouldn't have bought these. I bought 2 of them. I genuinely believed that the security measures I had were already enough. But experience is a way of changing your perspective. Now, these YubiKeys, I've got 2 of them, a USB-C and a USB-A. They both work exactly the same, except you plug them into a different port, right? They don't just protect your password. They're a physical lock on that passport. Without me physically inserting this key into my computer here at home and touching this sensor right here and then inputting a pin that I set up, that I created when I set this up. These keys are mine, right? They don't track me. They just lock out anyone else from getting into my stuff. They make sure that the only person that can get into my system is the person who inserts this into my system, has my fingerprint and touches the fingerprint identification sensor and knows the pin that I set up and inputs it physically here on my computer. That's the only person that can now access my system. Nae interlopers allowed anymore, okay? Now, when these arrived, I wasn't excited because they were new technology. I was excited because they represented something much more important. Peace of mind. They're tiny, right? They're just wee things, right? They're simple and easy to use. And to somebody looking at it for the first time, they probably don't look all that impressive. How's that going to save all your security? Just exactly how I've described. They add a layer of security that's impossible for an attacker that's not sitting right here in this chair to bypass. An attacker, even if someone broke in to my studio and inserted this key, they'd still have to have my finger to activate it and know the pin that I put in. So it's impossible. No one remotely and no one even physically here other than me can access my stuff. The setup itself is really straightforward, and I'm not going to show that here, but if anyone wants to see how do you actually go about setting it up, the instructions are very, very easy to follow. But if anyone wants a wee video on how to actually set these up and install them, let me know in the comments and I will create one. But it's very, very easy to do, right? That's one of the things I like about it. I like about them. You don't need to be a cyber security expert and you don't need to understand complicated technical concepts. You simply register the key with your account that you create and keep one as a backup. That's why I've got two, right? One is the one that I'll use and the other one is locked away somewhere in the studio, only I know where. And it's my backup in case anything ever happens to that one. I break it or I lose it or whatever. Now, if a hacker doesn't physically have that piece of metal in their hand, they're not getting in. There's no chance they're getting in, right, without the key, the pin and my fingerprint. And after I'd installed these and set them up, something interesting happened. I felt different. Not because the internet suddenly became safe and not because hijacking became impossible. No security system can 100% guarantee that, I suppose, even although I can't think myself of any way anyone could get into my system now. But the difference was that now that I knew that I had taken a significant additional step to protect something that I really care about, for the first time since recovering my channel, I felt like I could stop obsessing about security. I could get back to doing what I actually enjoy. Making videos, thinking about ideas, planning projects, flying my drones, creating content. The things that I should have been focusing on long ago. That's the reason I'm making this video. It's not a review of the YubiKey security key as much as I'd love to do a full review of them because I really love them. This isn't a review of the security key. It's a reminder that the effects of an attack don't necessarily end when access is restored. Sometimes the biggest challenge is rebuilding your confidence afterwards. And for me, these wee devices have become part of that process. Not because they're magical, not because they're perfect. I mean, they're just plastic and that's off a thin and it could snap off, especially if I've had a few wee whiskies when I'm inserting it, right? But these allow me to move forward knowing that I've done everything reasonably possible to protect my channel in addition to all of the security precautions that I had in place before. And sometimes peace of mind is worth far more than the cost of this hardware, which for the two of these was 52 quid. Pretty expensive for two tiny wee bits of plastic, but 52 quid for the peace of mind that I've got, that's well worth it, right? So now, hopefully, I can stop thinking about security for a while, because while these little keys are in the studio protecting the channel, I can get out and do what I love doing. Which is coming to a beautiful location like this, Kirkcudbright Bay, and I'm going to fly around the bay and over St Mary's Isle, and you're going to get the full video on the 7th episode of my coastal series, the entire coastline of Scotland by drone. If you want to see that video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you've click that bell so that you get a notification of when that video goes up. In fact, there's two videos. There's a 4K video from the camera on the drone, and there's a 360-degree video from the Insta360 X4 that's suspended from the bottom of the Mavic 3. So thanks for watching and enjoy the next video when it comes up. Cut! And we're done.